Hello, my friends, and welcome to Task 10. Task 10 is called Manage Project Changes. Project changes are different from organizational change. It's smaller scale, but nonetheless, it's important because as you manage change, you need to make tweaks like we saw in Task 9 to your project management plan. If you make some changes to the baseline, that needs to be reflected, of course, in the overall project management plan. Or if you make changes to how you want to do something, that should also be reflected in your project management plan. So at different steps in the project, you could find yourself making changes and doing something else. This is where I remind you of the different steps to be aware of before changes are made. So let's take a look at this process first before diving into the details. So managed project changes is really a lot of processes combined, but it all gets to a peak in form integrated change control process. So as usual, let's take a look at our 2015 content outline. So in order to manage project changes, PMI say manage changes to the project by following the change management plan. Remember, I showed you guys that? In order to ensure that project goals remain aligned with business needs. The next one is to develop a change management plan. And I told you that this takes place as part of develop project management plan, but it's pretty much unspoken. The PMI hasn't taken a bold stand to say, this is the process this comes from. Instead, you just magically see it on page 89. But I'm calling your attention to the fact that as you plan the overarching changes on the project that cut across different knowledge areas, this is where you should be thinking about change management plans. Okay? So develop a change management plan by defining how changes will be addressed and controlled in general, whether it's scope, schedule, cost, risk change, contract change, whatever it is, it needs to be planned and it needs to be tailored towards one approach. Do we have a change control board or not? What power does the project manager have? What power does the project sponsor have? Do we need a change control board or do we not? And things such as that, okay? Next one, it says implement approved changes and corrective actions by following the change management plan in order to meet project requirements. Last but not least, it says implement approved changes one more time, what we just read. If you go over to the enablers based on the new outline, we have anticipate and embrace the need for change. Follow change management practices. What are they saying? They're trying to tell you not to circumvent change. If change needs to occur, let it occur. That's all they're saying. Determine strategy to handle change. In other words, a change management plan. Execute change management strategy according to the methodology. Again, you got to have a strategy. You got to have a plan. Determine a change response to move the project forward. And of course, we know that could vary from project to project. Not every project is going to follow the same change approach. Okay? Very good. So let us move on to our next set of enablers, one by one. And here we are taking a look at the first enabler in some more detail. So again, it just casually says manage project changes. Okay, now when you break it down a little bit further, you can see you need to anticipate and embrace the need for change. Don't circumvent it. Let people, go through the process and ask for changes if they need to. But you got to follow the plan. So one of the typical questions on the PMP exam is, what should a change request authorize? And I want to show you this so-called infamous PMP practice question on the PMI's website. So here you go. Let me share that with you. Some of you have already seen it, and I'm not talking about their so-called mock exam of 200 questions. Oh, not that. I'm talking about this PMP sample test questions. So watch this question. I really want you to take note of what they could do on the exam. Accepted deadline for the project approaches. However, the project manager realizes only 75% of the work has been completed. The project manager then issues a change request. What should the change request authorize? And you can see the answer is as plain as anything. Corrective action based on causes. Simple as that. See? So sometimes the answer could just say corrective action based on causes. Or it could, if you get what should the project manager do? Sometimes it is just follow the process. Sometimes. But anyway, let me share this link with you. We'll share the link with you so that you guys can go back and see what PMI have put up here on their website by virtue of sample questions. Thank you very much for that link, Brittany, to the hall. And here is the link to the sample questions. Okay. All right. So you guys get the picture. Sometimes the answer is going to be so obvious. So what exactly is this? Well, as the project progresses, project changes that may appear include updates to deliverables, reflect modified or additional ideas or content, as well as corrective action, preventive action, defect repairs. When issues are found while project work is being performed, change requests can be submitted, which may modify project policies or procedures, project or product scope, project cost, budget, schedule, quality, or of the project or product results. But before we go any further, I want to really hammer down on what these so-called changes are. PMI tells you in the PMBOK guide, sometimes we don't know that it's a change, but it is a change in PMI's world. For example, updates. A lot of people don't remember that updates are considered as changes. Yes, they are in some instances, right? Oh, no, that's value. Thank you for chatting that in. That's value stuff. Okay. Corrective action, preventive action, defect repair. Those are also pieces of these updates. And let's just go to section 4.3 so I can clarify this for you. If you go to page 96, you want to highlight this stuff. A change request is a formal proposal to modify any document, deliverable, or baseline. Goes on and on. Please read that stuff. It's so important. Any project stakeholder may request a change. Any means any. Any means any. Change requests are processed for review and disposition through the Perform Integrated Change Control process. Change requests may include 1, corrective action, 2, preventive action, 3, defect repair, and 4, updates. I want us to focus on them in a different order in this case. Let's take a look at updates. There's a key word here in updates. Formally controlled. Formally controlled. See that? Formally controlled. And we're looking at page 96. It says, changes to formally controlled project documents, plans, etc. to reflect modified or additional ideas or content. So the key thing is formally controlled. If they are formally controlled, we need a change request. If they are not formally controlled, under most circumstances, we do not. What about corrective action? Let's read here on page 96 again. Corrective action. The key word is realigns. Any realignment is corrective action. It says, an intentional activity that realigns the performance of the project work with the project management plan. Okay, the next one is preventive action. Preventive action, the key words, future is one, future work, and the second important word is align. What is the difference between align and realign? Realign means there's been a deviation. Align means you're putting it straight on the tracks and it's going in a straight line, not to deviate. There's a difference. Preventive action is better than corrective action. We don't want any deviation. We want it to align well, right, the first time. So preventive action says an intentional activity that ensures the future performance of project work is aligned with the project management plan. In other words, you're preventing realignment needing to take place. You're preventing divergence from the path. The last one here is defect repair. And the key word here is modify. You got to make a tweak to the actual deliverable. Product, the service, the result. It says defect repair. An intentional activity to modify a non-conforming product or product component. Page 96, my friend, you don't want to forget it. This is what I refer to in a lot of the videos you've watched on YouTube as Kappa Drew. Corrective action, preventive action, defect repair, updates. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, page 96. Hope it does. If you recall, this was something that we looked at last week. And I actually did share the image with you. Does everyone remember that image? I'm inclined to open it up. Let's see if we can locate that image from the 22nd it was, wasn't it? Might have been deleted from my most recent entries. It might have been deleted, unfortunately. But I do believe you guys have it. Does anyone still have that image? That is a very, very important image. And I do not want to reinvent the wheel. I'll just say if you have that image, please go back and look at it. If anyone has it and can share it, that will be great. Otherwise, I will type, I won't make an image, but I'll just type it out very quick here. So here are the things that you need to do. Reminders. 1, create a formal change request. If asked, oh, thank you very much. That is gonna save us a ton of time. Thank you, Brittany. You are the MVP. Thank you very much. All right, let us take a look at it. I told you, teamwork makes the dream work, my friends. Teamwork is the way to go. What would I do without you guys? All right, let's take a look. Zoom in a little bit. All right, so step one in our last week's breakdown was some people may request a change verbally. If they request a change verbally, you should ask for the change to be put into a formal document. So they may request it verbally, that's okay, but you want to, first of all, document whatever they send you. When they send you the change request, right, you want to put it in the change log. So actually, we can say, request a change verbally, request a change in formal writing and document it in the change log. And then do an impact analysis, send the change request along with the impact analysis to the next approving authority. They will do an analysis of the change request. They will check for agreement. And then they should also send and share that with the sponsor or customer if they're not part of the CCB. The CCB will then make a final decision to approve, reject, deny, ask for more info, defer the change request, put it on hold or pending status. The project manager should update the change log, and it could be someone else. It doesn't always have to be the project manager. Okay. Haha, you're so kind. Number 10, PM shares the change log and communicates the decision. And lastly, the PM and team execute approved change requests in direct and manage project work and control quality. So that has saved us minutes and minutes that we would have spent doing it all over again. And Brittany has kindly sent that to everyone. So thank you very much. And let's go back to wrap this up. This is going to go pretty quick at this point. So we got to have a strategy to handle the change and put that in the change management plan. That's pretty much what it is. What do we mean by strategy? Well, determine a strategy to handle change. This is all about developing a plan for reviewing the change requests, approving them, managing them, changes to a deliverable, a project document, project management plan, and communicating the decisions. The next one here is determining a change response to move the project forward. And this is actually where the change control board is involved in this. And the PMI are just saying, well, this is one thing the project manager should be aware of. The change control board needs to meet to decide the way forward. When they have decided to move the project forward in a particular way, as you can see in the old outline here, it says implement approved changes and corrective action, but following the change management plan in order to meet project requirements. Please answer these questions for me. I'm going to give you a little exercise about these change requests. Open up a whiteboard and let me give you some trivia. Which process is following from that's one part of the puzzle. And we're going to have a little poll here with A, B, C, and D. A, correct and manage project work. B, monitor and control project work. C, control quality. D, validate scope. And we're going to have two sets of questions. So let me put this down here for the second round. But these are the things that I want to know. Which process is the following from? So here is your poll to get started. And the first item is approved change requests. Which process is approved change requests from? Is it from, oh, I beg your pardon, I need to edit, I'm sorry. Let me edit this, bear with me. I'm going to make a quick edit. This should actually come first. One more, I knew there was something missing. Here we go. All right. And here are your options. One more time. Which process is the following from? You can ignore this one for now. I have to redo that. So approved change requests, is it from direct or managed project work? That's A. Is it from monitor and control project work? That's B. Is it from managed quality? That's C. Or is it from PICC? What do you think? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I delightfully love it. We all got this right. The answer is perform integrated change control. Very good. Here is your next question. Which process is the following an input to? And I will relaunch the poll. And go for it. Which process is the following an input to? In other words, which process is approved change request an input to? The ideas? All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's end the poll. And here are the results. And majority chose A, and that is because indeed, approved change request goes to direct and manage project work. We execute on the change request there. Okay, good. Here is your next one. Which process is the following an input to? Approved change request, and here is the poll relaunched. What is this an input to? I'll give you 30 seconds. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, this is one of those in your face questions where PMI does not take any prisoners. Let's end the poll, share the results. So you guys didn't notice, but I did not change anything in this question set except option A. And that tells me that you have some gaps to close because everybody got the question right at first when direct and managed project work was at the top. But everybody did not get it right on this occasion, which tells me there's some loose, things we need to close. So monitor and control project work, manage quality, perform integrated change control, no. Approved change requests are not an input to those. So that was established in the first question. The answer is A, control quality. Okay. I have one more about change requests that I want to test you on. So let me do this very quick. And this one is which process is the following an input to? Here's the poll relaunched. And I'll give you 30 seconds again. All right, time up. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. End the poll. Share the results. For the most part, we did well with this. The answer is D, control procurements. That's where approved change request goes to. So what was I trying to achieve from this? I was trying to sensitize you to this important relationship. We have our major output, from perform integrated change control. Hang on a sec. That and oops, that and that. Okay. So this is the relationship. Perform integrated change control gives you an output known as approved change requests. An approved change request becomes an input to these processes: direct and manage project work, control quality, and control procurement. So you'll never forget it now that I've tested you on all three. I hope you had fun with the little quiz. Sometimes it takes a quiz to call these things to attention. I did struggle with this myself, and I think it is very helpful to keep these in mind for your exam. All right, so perform integrated change control gives you approved change requests, and it goes to these places. And this is where we are going to execute on some of this stuff. Now, with that said, remember, I always ask you to choose the best answer. So because it is not explicit in the PMBOK guide, I did not choose manage quality as any of the answers. However, with that said, I do want you to be aware that somewhere in managed quality, somewhere inside the mix of managed quality, reference is made to the fact that you should also be aware of any changes that have been requested. And as you're carrying out the process, even though it's not explicitly here, as you're carrying out the process, you should also be looking to ensure that you are going down the right path to make these changes. That's why it's called quality assurance. Don't wait till you get to control quality before you begin to look at your process to say, are we really implementing this approved change request the right way? Do you get what I'm saying? So it's not a direct input to manage quality, but I would say it's more of a mindset thing. And this is talked about somewhere in the mix of managed quality, which I'm unable to locate right now, but if I remember it, I will let you know. But the bottom line is, when the PMI is explicit about something, you got to go with that for the answer. And the explicit ones, oh, one more place to show you. One more thing to remind you of is all of these figures, the data flows. So the data flow diagram for perform integrated change control, this actually shows you what I just drew out. 4.6. If you go to page 114, what do you see? You can see approved change requests going explicitly to direct and manage project work, control quality, and control procurement. All right. Good. Any questions about any of this stuff? You want me to save this? Let me give you this image in a second, because that's the value in what we're doing, right? We're cataloging our journey. And sometimes we need these little images to remind us. So there is the image. All right. You might want to keep that in case your dopey friend Phil deletes his own work again. If he deletes his own work, you're going to have to save him from himself. All right, well, that's the image. And let's go back to our PowerPoint to round this up. So implement approved changes and corrective actions by following the change management plan in order to meet project requirements. We've pretty much talked about this. And last but not least, I'll just show you an unrelated image just to get you into the groove, you know, of how this works. So you get a requested change, ask for a change request, review the change request. That review could either be the change control board, it could be you, the project manager, it could be the project sponsor, it could be a number of people. If it's approved, inform stakeholders and move on and adjust the plan. Or if it's not approved, then nothing happens other than update the change log. So this is I would say, a more wide representation of the details that we have looked at. But as you study for the exam, just be aware of the detailed image that we looked at a few minutes ago. All right. So it's that time again where I ask you questions about integration. Now, we did take a look at integration earlier, but there's more stuff to be spoken about when it comes to managing changes. So let's go to our integration quiz and let's fish out a couple of change questions if we can. So change question coming up. This is very, very basic, but maybe I should be fair and talk about a few things before to maximize your chances of success. Is a change control board always required? No. Let's go to page 115 before I give you these. It says, the perform change control process is conducted from project start through completion. It's the ultimate responsibility of the project manager. Now, if you go to page 113, it says, This process is performed throughout the project. So if I give you one of those, you should get it right. I didn't say I would, I said if I did. Now going back to page 115, a few more things to point out. Changes may be requested by any stakeholder, any means any, involved with the project, and may occur at any time. So we can't say you can only ask for changes at this point. No, it could be any time. Okay? It says, once the project is baselined, change requests go through this process. So think about it. Your project team is planning the project. They have not yet approved the plan. They come up with some ideas about how a plan should look. Do they need a change request to change what they have drafted? No. If management has not approved it, you do not need a change request. So that's one. Okay, if it hasn't been officially stamped and baseline, no changes needed. Okay. It then says, as a general rule, each project's configuration management plan should define which project artifacts need to be placed under configuration control. If you get a question that says, which document specifies the rigorous changes that project documents should go through, blah, blah, blah. They're really talking more about the configuration elements. You see, it says, any change in a configuration element should be formally controlled. What do we mean by configuration elements? Those items, it could be a document, it could be a widget that is being modified. For example, if you're working on a project and you decide to go from one particular bolt to another particular bolt, that's a configuration element. You should know which version, the diameter, the specs in the bolt, or some other widget, whatever it is. And those are configurable items talked about in the configuration management plan. And in fact, I won't cut corners. I know time is important, but I got to show you this video one more time because this is essential studying. And it's the configuration management plan versus the change management plan. And if you go to Google this, guess what you find as the first video? One of your friend Phil's videos. This one right here. Change management versus configuration management. So I need to send that to you right now. And this is, let's see how long this is. I think it's about definitely over 10 minutes. Let's see. 11 minutes, 18 seconds. He's a little bit confused because it is a topic that puts people in a bit of a tailspin. So you guys, put that in your bookmark, okay? Please watch that video because I break it down like I just couldn't do that here because it would take another 10, 15 minutes. So, you know, I break down configuration management versus change management, and I give you a little table here. Okay, little table. Let's do illustrate that. So what I'm gonna do is save that. I'm just gonna put this into the chat, and it could serve as a reminder for you guys to go watch the wider video. So there is your table for configuration management versus change management. When we talk about configuration management, we're really talking about changes to specs, specifications. But I'll let you guys go take a look at that. And I hope that it clarifies things a little bit more regarding these two tricky terms. But going back to our page 115, I really wanted to make sure you get these questions right. So it says, although changes may be initiated verbally, they should be recorded in written form and entered into the change management and or configuration management system. And then it says, going towards the bottom, every documented change request needs to be either approved, deferred, or rejected by a responsible individual, usually the project sponsor or project manager. The responsible individual will be identified in the project management plan or by organizational procedures. See that? When required, the perform integrated change control process includes a change control board. When required, not all the time, when required. Keep that in mind. All right, let's go to the questions. Here we go. Here is your first one, and here is your poll relaunched. 1 minute. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's end the poll. Let's share the results. And let's review the question. So, which of the following statements best describes a CCB? There's some words that disqualify some of the options. Let's examine those words. Option A, a formally chartered group of stakeholders, that's true, responsible for ensuring that only a minimal? No. We do not ensure that only a minimal amount of changes occur. Anyone should be able to ask for change, and if it offers value, we do it, no matter how many they are. If it's valuable and we have the bandwidth, we have the money, we have the wiggle room, it aligns strategically, we're going to do it. So it's not that only a minimal amount of changes on the project. That is bogus. Option B, a formal or informal group of stakeholders that has oversight over project execution. They do not have oversight over project execution, but they have oversight over the change management process of reviewing change requests. So B is not completely right either. C, formally chartered group responsible for reviewing, evaluating, approving, deferring, or rejecting changes. Yes, so they can do those things, but that is not the only thing they do. They don't only defer, they don't only reject. They could review, they could evaluate, they could approve. All right, so C is fair game, and D says a dashboard. No, we know that it's not a dashboard, so that goes immediately. Okay, and the answer, best answer, is D. Oh, C, I beg your pardon. A formally chartered group responsible for reviewing, evaluating, approving. Oh, no. So there are some words that will disqualify some options compared to others. And our buddy, Darrell, is here. And this is a befitting point for us to change gears somewhat. So that is the end of that. And I'll say a welcome to our esteemed guru, the man of the hour, who is going to be talking to us about PMP exam. We've got lots of questions to ask him. So in the next video, we will switch to that. I think this is a nice little welcome break because we've been going at it for going to 3 hours. And it's a good time for us to segue. If possible, we'll find out when we come back.